What's up everybody, my name is Chris and today in this video I want to talk about the NT-USB Mini as well as other USB based microphones like the ATR2100, the VideoMic NTG from Rode, and I'm also going to throw in the Rode Wireless Go into the mix because all of these microphones has one feature in common, and that is the ability to actually record directly into your computer via USB-C or mini USB in the case of the ATR2100. And that is really great because you don't need any additional audio interfaces or audio recording devices like, for example, you would need if you were to use a XLR-based microphone like the PodMic, the Shure SM7B or anything like that. If you just want to record podcasts easily with your computer, USB microphones are getting better and better, and I think that that is great because it gives more flexibility and freedom in the creation process. And of course, needing less devices and also having devices that are reasonably priced helps in that effort. Now there's one thing that is very special about the NT-USB Mini, and that is that you actually can connect up to 4 of these microphones to a Windows or Mac computer, and there is a special application called the Rode Connect. And there you will then be able to have all of these microphones plus the system sounds, a soundboard, and a virtual audio input as well. So you can actually use this to do a full-on interview in your room and in your studio. Now with that, I also want to mention that the NT-USB Mini as well as the Rode Wireless Go 2 have been sent to me by Rode for the purpose of making videos about these. Rode does not have any input on these videos, however. The VideoMic NTG, on the other hand, as well as the ATR2100 were purchased by myself a few years ago. Now before we jump into the sound samples, let's have a bit of a closer look at the packaging and what comes in the box. This here is the box itself, and of course there's nothing very special about this. The unboxing experience was quite nice, so that is really cool. And then you have the VideoMic NTG in your hands. Now it comes with this little magnetic stand right here, and that is nice and all. However, that also presents the issue that the microphone is super far away from you when you just place it on your desk in front of you. So I would probably pick up some kind of a stand. Now in this case I have this K&M stand, and then you will need the screw that is included in the NT-USB Mini package. And then on the bottom, you can push out this little rubbery piece right there. And you basically screw this adapter into place. And once you have that done, you can basically just place the mic on top of your stand and screw that in. And now I have the freedom to actually have the microphone in a position that I prefer. Now this K&M stand will be linked in the description below, and of course this also has a sideways arm. I just happened to remove that because this here is a much cleaner setup for certain circumstances that I use this in. Then of course you also get a USB cord. This is a USB-C to USB-A cord, meaning that if you use a Mac that only has USB-C, then you will need to use an adapter or a hub. And of course if you want to connect multiple of these microphones to your Mac, then the USB-A is actually more helpful because most of the hubs actually have that kind of a connector in the multiples. I also read that if you want to hook up more than 2 to your computer, then you will probably need multiple hubs because the USB-C connection of one that goes into a hub only can support 2 of these microphones in any given moment because of the power usage of these mics. Now on the front of the microphone, you just have a couple of LEDs indicating the status of the mic, and you also have a dial right there, which is the loudness of your headphone set, which you can actually connect right here in the back. So you have the USB-C connection right there, and then you can also use a mini jack connection to power your headphones, and you can listen in on the conversation whilst you are recording. Now this is a feature that actually all of the microphones that I have in this test have, so that's not necessarily something special, but it is super useful. And the fact that you can adjust the volume right on the microphone here on the front with this dial is also super convenient. In terms of build quality, it is a great microphone. It is mostly plastic all around. The grill is metallic and I can kind of push it in. So that is something to be aware of. However, the overall yoke, the mount, and all of the things around it do feel pretty sturdy. Now again, I don't really like the base plate. It looks pretty and it's great that it's magnetic and all. However, I don't see the purpose in this because it is just simply too far away to actually get this nice presence effect that you want with a podcast recording setup or even a streaming setup. Having it like 40 centimeters from your body and from your mouth is not really going to give you the best result. You do want to have something like this up close to yourself so that the sound is best recorded. The same thing, however, is also true with other microphones. Like, for example, the ATR2100 here also presents the same issue that if I show you this on here, it also is very close to the bottom or very close to the desk and not really all that helpful. Now, of course, you can also mount this on a stand like that, so that's a possibility. It has a on-off switch. It also can change the volume, and it has the ability to connect a headphone Z. And of course, with the Røde VideoMic NTG, you also have the same feature set. You have a volume dial here at the back. You have normally the mic jack, or the connection to the camera, turns into a headphone jack when you use it via USB. And then you have the USB-C connection off to the side. Now, this is a bit of a different microphone comparing it to the NT-USB Mini or the ATR2100. It is a shotgun on-camera microphone first and foremost. However, with the -20 dB pad and the ability to connect it to your computer via USB-C, it becomes a multi-purpose microphone. And I really love that fact because that could potentially mean that I only need one microphone instead of bringing all of these microphones, for example, when I'm going traveling. Now, this might not be relevant for you if you just want to produce podcasts in your studio, you don't care about travel at all, and you just want to have one thing that does one thing really well. And you might also want to potentially save some money because this here is the most expensive one out of the microphones that I'm testing here today. Now with that, let's jump over to the screen for a moment so I can demonstrate the Røde Connect app, and that will be done right here. Now, you might be familiar with the Rodecaster Pro, and this app basically works the same way and looks the same way. It basically is a free Rodecaster Pro if you get the Røde NT-USB Mini microphone. Now, I would definitely recommend you change the settings, and the main setting that I wanted to change is the scale of the application, and that is here, the scaling 2xing that. Because I find the application is a bit small when you are using the 1x factor. So that's one thing that is kind of helpful because you also can't really resize this much unless you have multiple microphones and you can make it a little wider, but that's about it. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive in this video. I just wanted to give you a quick overview. Here on the right-hand side, you have sound loops, which you can actually set up so you can play back sounds while you are doing the recording. Then you have the volume for those sounds. Then you have the system volume, which, for example, could include someone on a Skype call. You have a virtual input, which is quite helpful if, again, you want to set this up for a Skype conversation or you want to send another microphone into this setup, which is not a NT-USB Mini, because that is actually one of the main limitations that I have seen with this Røde Connect app, and that is that you can only connect up to 4 NT-USB Mini microphones to this application, and if you don't have NT-USB Mini microphones, you can't really use that. And I actually sent an email to Røde support asking whether or not they could open this up, because I think that would be really good to have the ability to use this application for the Røde NT-USB Mini, but also, for example, incorporate the ATR2100. Even just being able to use Røde's own microphones like the Røde VideoMic NTG, the Røde Wireless Go 2, in this application would be quite helpful. Now, generally, if you want to connect a microphone to this, you need a connection cable. Now, I am using a USB-C to USB-C cable so that I can directly connect this to my Mac without additional adapters. And once I have this plugged in, you can see the signal appear right here on the first microphone. Now, if this is not showing up for you, you might have to go through the setup assistant, and that would then give you the multiple microphones that you have available, and then you can sort those into these slots. And then you have those showing up here. And when you click the little numbers on the microphones, you will have many of these settings that you can do here with the Aphex effects, the exciter, the big bottom, compressors, noise gates, and all of those good things so that you can set up the sound for each individual microphone individually. Now, one more very important thing for my personal taste is that you choose the preferences and then do the recording into a multi-channel recording. And the reason for that is because if you just choose a stereo recording, then you will only end up with everything mixed together into that stereo file. If you choose multi-channel recording, then you will actually get individual tracks for each of the microphones, as well as the virtual, the system, and the sound pads. And that means that you can actually change all of those things later on. So that is something that I find incredibly important, so that you have full control over your podcast production, and that then gives you the ability to actually be able to change how things sounded. You can add another effect on top of it, or you can make sure that people are equally as loud, and maybe that was not the case during the recording, and maybe you just forgot to also adjust the little knob dials here to make someone more loud or less loud. So that is something that I would definitely choose. Then of course, when you're ready to record, you can hit the record button right there, and the recording will start. And then later on, you will find the recordings right here in the application management, and you can just export those, and basically you're done with that. And then you can either upload it directly with the stereo file, or you can put it into Audition or any other audio program to further edit. Again, this is not a deep dive on Rode Connect. If you want to learn more about that, you can leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I might be able to do a video in the future about that and explaining more of these processes. Now, however, I want to give you a listen into the NT-USB Mini, the ATR2100, the Rode VideoMic NTG, and the Rode Wireless Go from the front, from a bit of a distance, and from the rear, so you can hear the rejection of that. Dig deep within yourself, for there's a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Now from the front, I think the NT-USB Mini sounded the most podcasty and had the most presence. The ATR2100, on the other hand, had a bit of a harsher tone to it, and the VideoMic NTG was a bit more boomy. However, I also liked that sound. One thing I have to mention here is that if you're using this microphone up close, then you will have to engage the -20 dB gain, because otherwise the sound is already clipping here in the microphone, and it doesn't even matter if you lower the volume in the back right here, you will have to use the -20 dB gain. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what program you use, it will clip. Now, the best way to test this is to actually talk into it while you are also looking at the top right here. Now, that's not really that possible if you are the only person in the room, but maybe you can use a mirror or the selfie cam on your phone to basically see whether or not this little light is going on with the clipping indicator, so that you have the best sound possible. Now, lastly, I also have the Rode Wireless Go 2, and that of course is the odd one out here. It is a completely different microphone for a completely different use case, but I want to include it because you can use it via USB. And that is a great addition, but it also gave the most room tone, the most reverb in this test because of its omnidirectional capsule. On to the distance test. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Now here again, the NT-USB Mini sounds really nice and clean. The ATR2100 produced more noise, or had a higher noise floor, so that became quite audible in this comparison. And the VideoMic NTG sounded the best. However, that's also because it has the benefit of being a shotgun microphone. Here in this test, I disabled the -20 dB gain because, of course, I was further away, and that way it was not necessary to use that feature. And now let's check how it sounds when you're talking into these mics from the back. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever to flow if you will keep digging. Now here the interesting thing is that the NT-USB Mini doesn't really sound that different from the front or the back. It is less loud, and it definitely is rejecting a slight bit, but not as much as I've seen with other microphones, like for example the ATR2100, which has a much more pronounced effect in terms of the rejection when you talk into it from the back or the sides, and that is characteristically correct for microphones like these, which do not necessarily pick up as much from the side or the back. Now the VideoMic NTG sounds really muffled when you talk into it from the back, and the Wireless Go, of course, doesn't really change much because it has a omnidirectional capsule, which means that it is basically picking up everything around it. Now out of this microphone selection and for podcasting or live streaming, I would pick up the NT-USB Mini or the VideoMic NTG. Now, if you're mainly just focusing on podcasting specifically or live streaming and you know the microphone will be on your set and not move much, then I would take the NT-USB Mini because it costs less and it also has more of the presence effect if you're using that for that purpose. The VideoMic NTG, on the other hand, is more of a multi-purpose microphone, and I will actually make a specific video about that. You can use it on a camera, you can use it in the studio, you can use it for podcasting, and that makes it really great for example, traveling, because you don't need to bring multiple microphones. Additionally, it is also much lighter than any of the other microphones in this comparison. Now, talking about the ATR2100, that was a really great microphone for starting out podcasters, and maybe for traveling, it would still be a good recommendation because you can handhold this microphone, comparing it to the NT-USB Mini, which you can't really handhold very well. Now, there is a newer version of this called the ATR2100X, which has a USB-C port and overall got renewed a little bit. However, I did not have a chance to test that yet. And when I do, I will make a video about it. Generally, these microphones are great for traveling podcasters because you have all of these different options. You can use it via XLR. When you upgrade to something like that, you can use it via USB. And of course, you also have a headphone jack. It's just this overall multi-purpose setup, and that's really great. And of course, also talking about the Rode Wireless Go 2, with the 2 transmitters, this is a very different and very specific use case. And I would only recommend you use this for podcasting or video production or live streaming if you don't want to invest into anything else and you have good reasons for this. For example, you want to be able to walk around. If you are, for example, doing live streams of a cooking show, that might be a really good use case for this. Or if you do yoga instructions like my partner Nicole does. Now for these, I have a specific video which I will link in the description below for the purpose of setting this up with your computer with USB. So you can check that out. And lastly, of course, you also have the option to use a XLR microphone like the Pod mic or the Shure SM7B or the Beta 57A. And I will have a link in the description to a video where I compared a couple of those recently. However, then you also need either an audio recorder or an audio interface. And I think that's what makes USB microphones really great. You don't need anything additionally. You can just directly hook those up to the computer. Now again, the NT-USB Mini is a really cool choice because it also features that app, the Rode Connect app, which is free and essentially works like a Rodecaster Pro. So if you're interested in that, you can of course also check that out, linked in the description below. Now, I hope this video was interesting and helpful for you in choosing a USB-based microphone for podcasting or other things. Now, in the description, you will find links to all of these products and, of course, additional videos. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Ciao, ciao!